soon as filming kicked off in January of 2008, reports started filtering from the set and onto news sites saying Gavin Hood and Fox producers were posturing, snarling, and butting heads, much like Logan and his classic antagonist Victor Creed. So, between March and August of that year, you couldn't browse a movie set without hearing how Wolverine was struggling to get filmed due to the constant issues between Hood and Fox. The following comes from firstshowing.net, who relayed a report that originally emanated from Hollywood Elsewhere. Apparently, we've got another case of a studio exec, Fox's Tom Rothman, trying
It's the same, but it's fine. Hold on.
audience when the
That is strange. You should be able to hear me, okay?
has been shooting something
At my end.
The story, as posted on Hollywood Elsewhere,
At my end, hold on. Let me check my levels.
according to their source, was supposed to be on the dark, dingy, and somber side.
Testing, yeah. So the levels are pretty good at my end.
The set, but
I'm talking in terms of the graphs I have for the microphones.
came back to
So maybe
top to bottom
check things at your end.
orders. This suggests that a creative tug of war is going on, and that Rothman, one can reasonably gather, feels a certain managerial/territorial investment in the X-Men franchise. And that's just one.
Tell me about your day, Afifa. Tell me about your life.
This time, a director trying to create a specific vision that's true to the source material, while an executive wants to make changes they feel will make the film the most profitable it can be.
We did it. We did it.
Well, that's a common occurrence in a lot of big movie sets. What is far less common is not having writers available to help tweak scenes or smooth out dialogue. For the first full month and a half of filming, the crew were still working with an unfinished script, and it was only until mid-February, when the writer's strike was over, that Fox ordered rewrites of specific scenes, so new pages were now being added almost daily, causing more delays and frustrations for the actors and director. One of these changes that frustrated Gavin Hood specifically was the fact that Fox
Better.
greatly toned down any scenes
On a bus, hello.
was supposed to be grappling
Your name sounds like somebody saying, hey, get on a bus.
probably
Get on a bus.
those scenes with ones where
And I saw that you do these strips as well. Those strips look fun.
these wouldn't be the
And
only
on those strips, it's on a bus, on a
would
bus.
have to contend with, as ongoing arguments, possible director replacement schemes, and the film being leaked online were still about to bear their claws. Hood and Fox's bickering became so intense over the course of 2008 that the studio decided to initiate backup plans in case they needed to break glass.
It was off today, so I slept like a baby all day. That sounds
To an
cool.
article on Variety, this plan to possibly replace Hood was going to be extremely sneaky. Wolverine Helmer Gavin Hood was nearly fired, according to sources, because of squabbles with the studio, and two backup directors were in place before Richard Donner, who is married to the film's producer Lauren Schuler Donner, flew to the Australian set to smooth things over. At the time, Fox insisted that Richard Donner was on set because he is a producer on the film. However, current credits for the film list various producers, but Donner is not one of them. Now, this is just speculation on my behalf, but it seems this might have been part of a two-pronged plan. If the late Richard Donner
Got a nickname for those seen on.
and Hood was sent packing or quit, they would then insert those
They look fun, man.
actors
Tell me about the next time one is going.
would simply step in to finish the film, or at the very least would help find someone
No, weren't they called? They were called Yan trips or something, right?
on until the end of production. Although really, at what cost? X-Men Origins Wolverine had suffered bad press all throughout 2008, with Jackman's smiling assurances during that year's Comic-Con not doing all that much to instill confidence. And what confidence there was absolutely annihilated a short time later. In March of 2009, 2 months ahead of Wolverine's May release date, a full-length DVD-quality work print of the film was spread across the internet, uploaded by a single individual who had reportedly bought the work print from a local merchant in New York City. Even though Fox got it scrubbed from most sites in the first 24 hours, the damage
Checked out my work.
had all
Crazy stuff. Loved it. Thank you very much.
at least 4.5 by Fox's
Afifa says, and now I'm gonna stay up all night. Best life.
It was, blue screens and rope.
Don't get used to it.
a hilarious.
This is a problem that I have.
A movie blogger who worked for Fox News wrote a full review of the leaked work print, talked shit about how easy it was to download, and of course, parted ways with Fox shortly thereafter. Like, bro, what the hell were you thinking?
I'm trying to get fired.
So, with all that said, it should be no surprise that with all the studio interference, the contrasting writing styles, the last-minute revisions, bad early word of mouth from the work print, and everything else, that no amount of healing factor was going to repair the damage from the critical thrashing X-Men Origins Wolverine suffered. It still proudly stands as the second lowest rated X-Men film of all time, right behind the unwatchable dreck that is Dark Phoenix. Man, I should take a crack at that one someday. Commercially, though, X-Men Origins did make $375 million on a budget of $150, which is pretty typical for a successful superhero film at that time, but trailed far, far behind the likes of The Dark Knight or the first Iron Man. It was enough, of course, to still greenlight a sequel, the marginally better.
Musafir is their brand name. Got a one-day trip going next weekend. Where are you guys going?
Which seemed like the tone that Benioff, Jackman, and Hood originally wanted. Speaking of, Hood doesn't look back on his first and only foray into superhero cinema as negatively as you'd think, saying to a crowd before a screening of one of his later films, "I'm very grateful because I managed to buy a house off that film, so don't get me wrong. I own the mistakes I made. I learned a great deal." So, while X-Men Origins Wolverine fared well enough to get its own sequels, most of the spin-offs Fox executives...
Did people like the story you put up with me in it? On a bus?
supposed to be X-Men Origins Magneto, a
Did anyone say anything?
film that was really close to being made, an X-Force spin-off, and of course a Ryan Reynolds-led Deadpool project. And all were either cancelled, never even started, or heavily retooled. For example, it took a further 5 years and Ryan Reynolds' famous test footage before Fox finally took the Merc with the Mouse seriously and allowed a weird, violent X-Men film to be made and, actually be accurate to the character. It remains to be seen if Deadpool and Wolverine will give the superhero genre the shot in the arm it desperately needs. I'm writing this weeks in advance, of course, but it can't be any worse than the last time these two characters shared the screen, which of course gave us this Slenderman Baraka nightmare that I wish we could all remove from our collective consciousness. If you know of any other monstrously moronic mutant-based misfires, let me know in the comments below or enter the danger room that is my social media. See you next time, bub, and thanks for watching.
Hello, Tahreem. How are you? What am I about to make? Oh shit, hold on.
It has been called the most divisive children's book in history.
So, one of the requests I received were for Morrigan from Darkstalkers. So, I gave it a shot. I didn't like what I made, so I'm just gonna try again to make Morrigan from Darkstalkers. I want some chips right now, man.
It's been ranked in both the top best and worst children's books of all time. Some have said they've always hated the story. It's been called depressing, sexist, and even horrible. A horrible book. But also beautiful, touching, and inspiring. The Giving Tree. It's The Giving Tree. I either read this book or had it read to me a very long time ago, and from then until now, it never occurred to me that someone might find the story wrong. While a tragic story might make you feel bad, it takes an entirely different kind of attitude to hear a story and rewrite it altogether. Like it should have gone in a direction it didn't. Which is exactly what Topher Payne did in The Tree Who Set Healthy Boundaries. The Giving Tree is a modern-day parable, one that touches on more subjects than I initially imagined. From self-sacrifice, abusive relationships, the environment and parental roles, to the nature of life and love itself. Exploring the history and interpretations of this book took me to places I would have never discovered otherwise, and reopened old memories and old wounds. And speaking of trees, this video is sponsored by MyHeritage. My family has a picture on our kitchen island with several ancestors in it, and they all look pretty rad. Problem is, we don't have any idea who most of them are. That's why MyHeritage is an amazing website. It can search through 20 billion historical records, and all you need
Hi Tahrim, I am glad you
start
joined
to
me
fill in your
on
family tree with better and even new information. Instant Discoveries is a way for new people to be added to your tree
I'm
automatically.
glad you joined me on
Renzo Guy, and with a click of a button, over 40
I'm glad you joined me on Twitch instead. Joined here so that I can look at the reference too. What reference? There's no reference. I'm not looking at a reference. It's just on Twitch. It's just there was a Ghazi Sikandar Mirza exhibition today. Yeah, I liked it. Met him. Cool.
people were added to fill in my family tree. So this is our family tree website, which I can add you to contribute. Cora.
Yeah, that's my grandmother.
Ah.
Hold on, I'm gonna try to.
A baby picture.
Oh, no way!
I'm drawing too. Cool.
And I
What are you
can
drawing?
Enhance and colorize this. I found a match.
I think I'm gonna have to set up a.
Weird.
I'm gonna have to set up like a thing where we do multi-screens and stuff. Hold on, let me mess around a little bit. How's his exhibition? It's yeah, his work is so cool, man. I really like Ghazi's work. Hold on. Okay, so what I have to do, the midpoint here. Okay, so this is the midpoint, has to be here, and then hold on. All by myself. Alright, wait, I'm just gonna put this video on so you don't get bored.
It's really fascinating. Playboy magazine, was a frequent visitor of the Playboy Mansion, and was a close friend of Hugh Hefner. He never married and never planned to have kids, but had 2 children later in life. His writing fluctuates rapidly between silly and juvenile, and somber and mature, sometimes within the very same poem. His illustrations switch from cute and endearing to surreal and outright gross within a few page flips. Success and controversy seem to follow him everywhere, from the very beginning of his cartoon work for Pacific Stars and Stripes during his time in the military, to his very last children's book, Falling Up. While poetry books are his most recognizable works, he was also a prolific musician, songwriter, and playwright, writing hits for people like Johnny Cash, Judy Collins, and Waylon Jennings. He was also a singer and produced multiple albums, even painting a self-portrait for one of them. But his singing voice was often pretty grating.
And he said, after you've been having steak for a long time, beans taste
Your stand broke. You can just order a stand in Islamabad. You can just order a stand from
He was fully
Food
dedicated
Panda.
to his art and was deeply involved in the
So
production.
probably in Lahore as well.
From the writing and drawings for the poems to the arrangement and layout of the pages for publishing. He rarely gave interviews, hated to give commentary on the messaging of his art, and the only elaboration he ever gave for The Giving Tree, his most famous single work, is, "It's just a relationship between two people. One gives and the other takes." It has a pretty sad ending. And I didn't start out to prove a message. It started out to be a good book for a kid. I imagine it reflects my ideas, but it is for children. I would like adults to buy it and read it, and I hope they can find enough in it. If we are to analyze The Giving Tree, any more commentary on the book from its author ends there. But we can get a lot more context for the story from his other works. After traveling the world for Playboy and contributing cartoons for the magazine, one of Shell's friends, a children's book author, convinced him to write a children's book. This first book would be called Lafcadio, the Lion Who Shot Back. The book tells a surprisingly long story about a lion who eats a hunter and acquires his gun. The lion learns to use the gun and
I am a hunter, she want to see my
eventually
gun.
finds he can no longer.
When I pull it out, why the woman want to
The book ends during a standoff between humans and hunters, where Lafcadio simply walks away.
She begged me to show
Out
it.
of time.
She begged me to see it.
Published
But when I reveal it, she want to run and hide.
Missing Piece, written a decade after The Giving Tree, a rolling circle with a triangular section cut out of it searches for its missing piece, singing and exploring life along the way. Once it finds its missing piece, it rolls along and can no longer stop to explore or sing, and simply drops the piece and rolls away, still searching for fulfillment. In the sequel, The Missing Piece Meets the Big O, we get the perspective of a piece, which searches for the right fit until it learns from a full circle that it can roll along by itself, wearing out its edges until it can roll perfectly fine on its own.
Yeah, I think that
Simple
works.
stories, often described as modern parables or
I
fables.
grabbed a
They
book
communicate
by
messages
Joan Dillion today. Is there any
and
Joan
adults can
Dillion
understand
video
without
essay?
being
Fine,
watered
okay,
down.
why not? I have no idea who you're talking about.
Facilitate this philosophy further. Silverstein once complained about a trend in the 60s where children's books were illustrated to look like they were drawn by children.
I think the last thing, when I was a kid, the last thing you want to see is a drawing that looks like you could have done it. Kids want to get into detail in drawings.
A long time ago, before I had any knowledge in art, I thought I could
Not
draw like
Bellion.
Silverstein because he made shaky
I meant Joan Dillion.
So did I. Contrary to his claim, this didn't discourage my interest in his books. The reality, however, is that drawing something with clarity, readability, and humorous exaggeration requires extreme skill. Shaky lines be damned.
What the hell? These are all just 1 minute long.
Silverstein reportedly often drew without undersketches or even a premeditated idea of what he was going to.
Fine, we watch this.
The following program is a Town of Colony television production of the William K. Sanford Town Library.
Well, welcome to Meet the Author. My name is Joe Nash. Today we're going to be talking to Joan Dillon. She is a Colony resident. She's written this historical novel, historical romance. Well, we'll find out all about that, but it's called The Irish Rebellion. Welcome, Joan. Thanks for coming over.
You're welcome.
Now, Joan, before we started, we were talking a little bit about this book was a long time in the making. So, before we start talking about the book specifically and all the genres and everything, just tell everyone a little bit, where you're from, how you've been living in Colony for 40, 50 years. Just give us a little short.
I'm from Colony. I've been living here since I'm married, and I was married when I'm 18. And I used to live on Chesbrough Drive in Colony.
Yeah.
And my son, he wasn't doing good
Didion.
in school. And we had to go before like psychiatrist and test. And they told me that my son was 7, but he come out 10 hearing, and he's deaf. And they said he needs to go to the school for the deaf. And they says, we can't take him away from mother for being too good. But you are.
Yeah.
Like, I would never holler at him. And he would throw food at my husband, and if my husband hollered at him, I'd get angry.
Okay.
So I thought, gee, these men are very smart. They're smarter than me. And they suggested I take Joey up to the school. Well, when he seen all his little friends and they were signing and swimming,
Gideon.
He threw me under the bus.
Oh my god, Ethan, you have the wrong name. Harris, what a wreck. I'm laughing so much. It's Gideon. Okay. That's just what you two took me to, man. What am I supposed to do? Hold on.
Finally tonight, as we promised, remembering the life and work of author and essayist Joan Didion. Jeffrey Brown has our appreciation.
In certain latitudes, there comes a span of time approaching and following the summer solstice, some weeks in all, when the twilights turn long and blue.
She captured moments in American culture with penetrating clarity and style, from the Manson murders to the case of the Central Park Five, and then turned those same observational powers onto her own intimate losses and grief. One of America's most iconic writers, Joan Didion began her career at Vogue magazine after winning an essay contest in college, and went on to write for magazines and journals like Life and the New York Review of Books. Her first nonfiction collection, Slouching Toward Bethlehem, chronicled the unraveling of Southern California's social fabric in the 1960s, what she called America's atomization, the proof that things fall apart. She went on to publish several more collections of groundbreaking reporting, establishing herself as a leading voice in personal narrative, so-called new journalism. In a 2017 documentary, critic Hilton All spoke of her book of essays, The White Album.
On the Beatles album, the White Album, there's ballads and there's sound experiments by Lennon. There are soft songs, hard songs, instrumental. She does a very similar thing in that essay, which I find profound, and also it took 10 years. You couldn't make a cohesive narrative about the times because the times weren't cohesive. So she found this way, which was to kind of make a verbal record of the times.
I am talking here about a time when I began to doubt the premises of all the stories.
I'm glad I amused you with my incompetence.
Didion also published the acclaimed novels Played as It Lays and A Book of Common Prayer.
What do you think about this space scam,
Marked by two tragedies.
Tehreem?
In the span of 2 years, she lost her...
What do you think about this ghostly... Yeah, so, I don't know if you noticed or not, but on Twitch, I changed my...
Quintana Roo done. She chronicled those shattering losses with a clarity that
my
truths within the
thing
fog of grief.
A little bit.
First,
you know,
Year
like
of Magical
look,
Thinking,
there's
which won the National Book Award.
that, and then there's you over here.
Pulitzer Prize finalist, and later Blue Night.
What do you think?
2011. I spoke with her about that book and her writing process.
You could say that was a form of healing, but it's not the form most people depend on.
Do you think of writing as a way of keeping emotional distance, or not?
Well, you do. Of course, you do.
Yeah.
I don't know any. It's both a way of keeping a distance and a way of getting close. There are certain things that you do learn to live that only by living through them do you learn to live through them.
Mm-hmm. And what about understanding them through writing about them?
Through writing about them. That's how you understand. That's how you start to understand them.
President Barack Obama awarded Didion the
The
National
face scam is still scary.
in 2013.
Somebody like Joan Didion, who rightly has earned distinction as one of the most celebrated American writers of her generation. Decades into career, she remains one of our sharpest and most respected observers of American politics and culture.
Joan Didion died from complications of Parkinson's disease. She was 87 years old.
And joining me now is Griffin Dunn. He's Joan Didion's nephew. He's an actor and filmmaker and director of the 2017 documentary, Joan Didion, The Center Will Not Hold. Thank you so much for joining us. And first, we send condolences to you and to your family. I want to start with a famous Joan Didion line. It's the beginning of that essay, The White Album.
Why don't do a conventional camera? I did used to do a conventional camera. I used to do a conventional camera. If you look into my VODs, like the older videos, look in the highlights. There's one where I'm talking to some people and discussing the anatomy of the splash screen. उसके अंदर देख लेना. But I like this solution because in this solution I don't have to be so careful about how clean my background is, what I look like, I don't have to kind of dress up or whatever. I can just be wearing whatever I want because this camera just shows you my ghost face. I'm a ghost face killer. So, the girl you're drawing has extremely long legs. Yeah, I'm trying to draw, like worm's eye view. So, like, this is the perspective. So I'm trying to do it short. And the character does have long legs, but I'm really trying to push it as well.
It's a model of her writing. Is it also how she saw her life?
Completely. She wrote to find out what she thought. Your magical thinking was her delving into grief, and it was the first agnostic book about grief that she had no intention of it meaning so much to so many people who had lost their loved ones, but that turned out to be the case.
Perspective, yeah.
She had to figure out what she felt about things, and it was a relationship between her and the typewriter. That was her dictum from the her earliest writings, even at Vogue.
And the writing itself, of course, there's a Joan Didion style that generations of journalists and writers have studied, have emulated. How do you describe it, what she was doing in her writing?
Well, it was clearly sparse. She had a distinctive point of view that was rather controversial at the time, be it about feminism or the Central Park Five. That the rest of the media, it took them a while to catch up to. She had her own voice. Her own particular perspective on life.
Let me try to pull out the character that I'm trying to make, just so you know.
And heard a voice that other people, it took a while for them to catch on to. And so her perspective was entirely unique and greatly appreciated, in time by her fans.
What about personally? What was
it's this one.
And how much was her life?
Wait, I'll be right back.
Tied to her writing?
Very much. She would. One of her most famous essays, when she and her husband John Gregory Dunn, were having marital problems. That was her material. At the time, she was writing for the Saturday Evening Post, in both alternately with John. 1 week John, another week Joan. And she was unhappy in her marriage and was considering having a divorce. So she wrote about it, and then took the copy and handed it to John, who edited it. So life was her material. That was how she wrote.
As someone who knew her and then did the documentary, how do you see her legacy? What is it that you want people watching this to remember about her?
Well, I have to tell you, today is today's been incredible. There's just been so much love that has come about her toward me. From her fans and the media. Sorry.
Okay.
I think she will be remembered.
What are you making me watch? There's an old man crying about his aunt dying.
For all time. Her readership has just grown. I'm so proud that I was able to make that documentary. It brought a whole new readership, a whole new generation of young people to her work. And, her legacy will be as a woman with a strong point of view who came from the West, whose ancestors were homesteaders, and her strength carries on.
All right, Griffin Dunn on the life and legacy of Joan Didion. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.
And deep condolences to Joan Didion's family. And thank you for that interview, Jeffrey and Mr. Dunn.
Chill out music.
...2004. What a time to be alive. Social media barely existed, video games were actually good, I looked like this and was somehow confused as to why I couldn't get a girlfriend, but also, Mean Girls came out. And it kind of just completely changed what we think of as teen movies. You see, before this you had those teen raunch movies of the 80s and 90s, you had John Hughes movies, that kind of thing, but Mean Girls just kind of changed the game forever, showing us that movies about teenagers in high school could actually be, kind of good. Now apparently no one else got the memo, because since Mean Girls there's been about 1,100,000,000 teen high school movies, but only 4 good ones, maybe? So the question is, why is Mean Girls so good? And why is it still the best teen high school movie, even almost 20 years later? Well, let's take a walk. But before that, really quick, this video is brought to you by Surfshark VPN. Okay, back to the show. Right, first thing, this is our main character, Katie, played by a real up-and-comer with a no doubt bright future, Lindsay Lohan.
I'm 16, and until today, I was homeschooled. I know what you're thinking. Homeschooled kids are freaks.
XYLOCARP, Stylocarp.
Or that we're weirdly religious or something.
And on the third day, God created the Remington bolt-action rifle so that man could fight the dinosaurs and the homosexuals.
Wait, this movie's from 2004? This could have come out last year. Anyway, so Katie's family used to be research zoologists in Africa, and thus Katie was homeschooled for basically her entire life. But then her mom lost her job, and now they've moved to wherever town USA. The kind of place in the Midwest where people eat as if they can actually afford to go to the hospital. All the same, today's Katie's first day at not just her new school, but any school ever. But I mean, come on, how bad could it be? I'm sure it's gonna be just a totally normal school with, kids setting their Trapper Keepers on fire, and that one girl who just rollerblades everywhere and says things like, yeah, I don't take showers because soap kills germs, but they have a right to live too, So yeah, today's gonna be a great day.
Oh, God, I'm so sorry.
Is everything all right in here?
Oh, yeah.
So, how was your summer?
I got divorced.
Oh. My carpal tunnel came back.
Oh yeah, same thing happened to me back when I was in high school, and I just spent like 90% of my time Oh, I get it. Anyway, so the school day starts, and Katie's getting a real crash course into what American schools are really like.
The first day of school was a blur. A stressful, surreal blur. I got in trouble for the most random things.
Where are you going?
Oh, I have to go to the bathroom.
You need the lavatory pass.
Okay, can I have the
Homosexuals.
You know, I never thought about this till recently, but like, how weird is it that in school you need someone else's permission to go to the bathroom? Like, what is this, prison?
I had never lived in a world where adults didn't trust me, where they were always yelling at me.
Don't read ahead.
No green pen.
No food in class. Bleiben Ihren vorgenannten Platz.
I've never understood what it is about teachers and just how they love to find things to get upset about. Hey, you got a hall pass? Well, no, but I was just gonna... 7 weeks detention or I cut your fingers off. You brought this on yourself. Or just like how all the male teachers are so concerned about the length of girls' skirts, you know, like just always on the lookout for those harlots showing off their kneecaps and collarbones. Definitely something a very well-adjusted person would do. And of course, who could forget the wonders of the U.S. health education curriculum?
Don't have sex, because you will get pregnant and die.
Anyway, so Katie's first day doesn't really go so well. She ends up eating lunch in the bathroom and still has no friends, kind of like my first day of high school, and every day after that. I don't want to talk about it. But the next day at school, we get to meet two other main characters of this movie, Janice and Damien.
Is that your natural hair color?
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Thank you.
See, this is the color I want.
This is Damien. He's almost too gay to function.
Nice to meet you.
Nice wig, Janice. What's it made of?
Your mom's chest hair.
So this makes up our trio of main characters, the new girl, the goth girl, and the gay friend. Now they might just seem like your average cookie-cutter teen movie archetypes, but throughout the movie we get to see how there's just so much more depth to them as people. You know, unlike most Netflix teen movies where every single character is a one-dimensional wooden plank with their personality spray painted across their face, and have the emotional depth of a kiddie pool that's basically more urine than water at this point. But in opposition to these three, we also get to meet three other important people you should know about, the Plastics.
Who are the Plastics?
They're teen royalty.
That one there, that's Karen Smith. She is one of the dumbest girls you will ever meet. That's Gretchen Wieners.
She's totally rich because her dad invented toaster strudel.
Evil takes a human form in Regina George. Don't be fooled, because she may seem like your typical selfish, backstabbing, slut-faced hoe bag.
Oh, right, yeah, one of those, sure. So after this, we get yet another lunchroom scene where Katie doesn't really know where to sit or how the hierarchy at the school works, but then you'll never guess what happens when she walks by the Plastics table.
Wait. Sit down. Why don't I know you? I'm new. I just moved here from Africa. What? I used to be homeschooled. So you've actually never been to a real school before? Shut up. I didn't say anything. You're like really pretty. Thank you.
So you agree?
What?
You think you're really pretty?
Well, I mean, compared to you with that albatross wingspan of a collar you got going on there, yeah, I'd say I'm doing pretty well for myself, all things considered. So what ends up happening is, for whatever reason, they decide to absorb Katie into their group. And Janice over here couldn't be happier.
God, okay, you have to do it, okay? And then you have to tell me all of the horrible things that Regina says.
Regina seems sweet.
Regina George is not sweet. She's a scum-sucking road horse.
Huh. Well, when you put it like that, I'm starting to think you might not like her so much, Janice. But you know, I don't think insults like this really even faze girls all that much anymore. Like, if you really want to mess with her head, just be totally honest and tell her that she dresses like a divorced soccer mom with two kids who would rather spend time with their dad, and the only date she can get is with Rodney down the street, who doesn't believe in television and makes taxidermy mermaids in his free time. Now that's gonna keep her up at night. Anyway, so now that Katie can get behind enemy lines, so to speak, Janice has a little idea.
Regina, you seem to really hate her.
Yes. What's your question?
Well, my question is, why?
Regina started this rumor that Janice...
Damien! Shall we not? No, look, this isn't about hating her, okay? I just think that it would be like a fun little experiment if you were to hang out with them and then tell us everything that they say.
You know, because Janice over here is totally one of those alt girls who's like cool and chill and definitely not overly obsessed with Regina George. Kind of like the way I totally have not spent the last 6 months trying to figure out what Dylan Sprouse has been doing between the Sweet Life movie and then appearing in After 2 of all things. But all the same, this is the main plot thread of the movie, with Katie having to infiltrate the Plastics and learn their secrets.
Have you seen any guys that you think you're cute yet? Well, there's this guy in my calculus class. Who is it? It's a senior. His name's Aaron Samuels.
No.
Oh, no, you can't like Aaron Samuels. That's Regina's ex-boyfriend. They went out for a year. Ex-boyfriends are just off limits to friends. I mean, that's just like the rules of feminism. Don't worry, I'll never tell Regina what you said. It'll be our little secret.
Oh, no. No. Okay, hold on. If there's one thing I learned from being friend zoned by every girl in my high school, it's that when a girl says that and makes this face, it's already too late for you.
Hello? I know your secret. Oh God, busted. Just start apologizing and crying. No, play it cool. Secret? What are you saying about?
Gretchen told me that you like Aaron Samuels. I mean, I don't care. Do whatever you want. But let me just tell you something about Aaron. All he cares about is school and his mom and his friends.
What a loser, caring about stuff like school and his mom. What's next? Is he gonna try and get into a good college and have a successful career? What a freaking square! But real talk for a second, I've always found it interesting how there's this like widely accepted teen movie idea that pretty popular girls in high school are all just these dumb cheerleaders or whatever, and like getting good grades or being smart or whatever is only for the misunderstood yet somehow relatable girls.
You're taking 12th grade calculus?
Yeah, I like math.
Ew.
At my other schools, I was the freaking math girl.
But you know, like when I was in high school, the popular pretty dance team girls or whatever, like they were all valedictorians and took AP classes and stuff. So like, where does this trope even come from? It's not even remotely true. Anyway, back to the movie.
But if you like him, whatever. I mean, I could talk to him for you if you want.
Really? You would do that? I mean, nothing embarrassing though, right?
Oh no, trust me. I know exactly how to play it. But wait, aren't you so mad at Gretchen for telling me?
No. I'm not mad. I mean, I guess she just likes the attention.
See, Gretchen, I told you she's not mad at you.
I can't believe you think I like attention.
This is giving me some serious high school PTSD flashbacks right now. You know, three-way calling really only had like two uses. Either you're talking to your grandparents on Thanksgiving or ruining your friends' lives forever. But whatever. Anyway, after somehow becoming best friends with the Plastics, Katie goes over to Regina's house so we get to learn a little more about who these girls really are and what they do for fun.
God, my hips are huge. Oh, please. I hate my calves.
At least you guys can wear halters. I've got man shoulders.
My hairline is so weird.
My pores are huge.
You want to see some man's shoulders?
So
Are you here?
my nose is actually perfectly fine, but I refuse to believe it because Jessica...
My friend Kareem.
Or whatever. Tell me about it, sister. I mean, sometimes I get possessed by the spirit of Cthulhu and then just kind of... But also, we get to learn about a little something called the Burn Book.
Here, check it out, Katie. It's our burn book. So we cut out girls' pictures from the yearbook, and then we wrote comments. Trang Pak is a grotesque little biatch.
Still true.
Don Schweitzer is a fat virgin.
Still half true.
Amber DeLucio, she made out with a hot dog.
You know, I love how they make fun of girls for being virgins and then also make fun of them for being skank hoes or whatever. Like, I don't know, guys, but I'm starting to think the game might be rigged. But all the same, as Katie gets to know these girls better, she's starting to feel like maybe Regina isn't so bad after all. But later on, when she tries to shoot her shot with this guy, Aaron, who Regina also likes, despite the fact that he dresses like a 5-year-old, Regina reacts as any best girlfriend would.
You know that girl, Katie?
Yeah, she's cool. I invited her tonight.
Well, be careful because she has a huge crush on you.
Really? How do you know?
Because she told me. She tells everybody. It's kind of cute, actually. And okay, look, I'm not saying she's a stalker, but she saved this Kleenex you used.
Yeah, what a weirdo. Who would ever do something like that? Now, as you can imagine, being 16 and all, Katie doesn't really take it all that well.
I'm gonna show. I've been drawing, as you may or may not know, I've been drawing some ex-girlfriends and ex-lovers lately.
My stomach felt like it was going to fall out my butt.
Oh, trust me, I get it. I mean, the same thing happened to me when I had Chipotle and Taco Bell in the same day. Also, Aaron and Regina are dating now. You know, just FYI. But anyway, so this sets in motion the rest of the movie where Katie, Janice, and Damien work on a plan to get revenge on Regina, not just for what she did to Katie, but really just for who she is as a person. So they give her like foot cream on her face, cut holes in her shirts, and convince her to eat.
So this is one of the girls who really hurt me.
That's gonna make her lose weight.
You're wearing sweat.
And she did have mannish shoulders.
So that's against the rules, and you can't sit with us.
She was,
Those rules aren't.
she was, yeah, she had a manly frame, let's say.
These sweatpants are all that fits me right now.
Oh, don't sweat it, Regina. I mean, hey, in about 15 years, being thick will be the cool thing, but skinny is also in, but of course not too skinny because you gotta be thick, but not too thick because you still gotta have a flat tummy, so, you know, you gotta be a little bit skinny, but you also gotta be thick, but only in the right way, or else you're gonna... Anyway, so in doing all this sabotage stuff, Katie has been plotting to destroy Regina's regime. Oh, I get it now. And she's been doing this by ironically acting like one of the Plastics.
The weird thing about hanging out with Regina was that I could hate her, and at the same time, I still wanted her to like me. Because being with the Plastics was like being famous. People looked at you all the time, and everybody just knew stuff about you.
But as is almost always the case, she soon realizes that when you do something ironically or for the meme or whatever, there comes a point where like you're just doing it, and eventually Katie realizes that she's actually just fully become the thing she's been trying to destroy the whole time.
Oh, God.
You dirty little liar.
I'm sorry, I can explain. Explain how you forgot to invite us to your party?
Janice, I cannot stop this car. I have a curfew.
You know I couldn't invite you. I had to pretend to be plastic. Buddy, you're not pretending anymore. You're plastic. Cold, shiny, hard plastic.
So just to summarize the next part of the movie here, Katie ends up getting Aaron to break up with Regina because she was cheating on him with Shane Omen. Yeah, I know, right? Her skinny body is now like 1% less skinny because of those bulk up bars, and with the magic of three-way calling, Karen and Gretchen don't want to be friends with her anymore.
Thank you.
They found out that she talks about them behind their backs. You don't say. So this all comes to a head later in the movie when Regina finds out what Katie's been doing the whole time.
I'm starving.
Man, I hate those things. Coach Carr makes us eat those when we want to move up a weight class.
What?
They make you gain weight like crazy.
And so, in a fit of rage, Regina puts herself in the burn book and makes a bajillion copies of it and distributes it all over the school. As you might imagine, this makes all the girls in school a little perturbed, and they turn on each other and fight it out with all the intensity of me waking up from a melatonin nap. No, stop it. Take that. I'll show you. And ultimately, the school ends up holding an assembly to talk about girl stuff, you know, like cooties and makeup and documentaries about women getting brutally murdered or something. I don't know.
Miss Norbury had us write out apologies to people that we'd hurt in our lives.
I just wish we could all get along like we used to in middle school. I wish that I could bake a cake made out of rainbows and smiles, and we'd all eat it and be happy.
She doesn't even go here.
Do you even go to this school?
No.
Now, we also get to find out why Janice has it out for Regina so much. You see, back in 8th grade, Regina told everyone that Janice was gay, which is like the worst thing you could be in the early 2000s. And since then, Janice has hated Regina's guts and totally hasn't been thinking about her the entire time. And so the movie comes to an end where everyone says how they really feel about each other. Regina gets hit by a bus. The school has their spring fling dance where no one's leaving any room for Jesus. Katie wins the mathlete competition and the spring fling queen. Hey, come on, leave some for the rest of us, would you? And one.
What are you drawing, Kareem?
I had gone from homeschool jungle freak to shiny plastic to most hated person in the world to actual human being.
Hey.
All the drama from last year just wasn't important anymore. School used to be like a Shark Tank, but now
I'm suddenly kind of really tired. I think I might have to end early.
Girl World was at peace.
You know, Mean Girls really was a turning point for teen movies. Like, I think it holds up so well because it just feels like it could take place anytime, anywhere. And instead of being strictly a teen rom-com, it's really more about like intergirl issues, high school social hierarchy, being a teenager, that kind of thing. And like one of my absolute favorite parts of this movie is this little bit right here.
So fetch. That was so fetch. That is so fetch.
Gretchen, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
This is so interesting for me to see because like so many teen movies, especially on Netflix, they try so hard to have characters talk like teens where they use all this like awkward made up slang that no one ever actually says. But Mean Girls